My name is Dave. I work for Amazon, and I am the evangelist for Amazon Echo and Alexa. So if you have not seen any of those devices today and you're curious, this session will be about starting from scratch all the way to building a skill. And I actually have an Echo here. We're going to use AWS Lambda today, and we're going to attempt to build a skill and then be able to run it on an actual device. Now, you can reach me on Twitter. I am the Dave Dev on Twitter. I do respond. I do follow back. Feel free to follow me. And I am the only Isbitski at Amazon. So feel free to email me if you have any additional questions and if you'd like more information on where to get started with Alexa. Now, there's two main URLs that you should remember when you're going to do any kind of development with Alexa. The first is developeramazon.com ask, and the second is the blog. So I do blog as the team releases new features, and you can sign up for our newsletter as well as webcasts I do, recordings from conferences. All of that is available on Ask. So just remember those two URLs. Everything I'm going to show you today is free. You can totally do this within an AWS account as well. So if you don't have an Echo or you don't have one of the new Amazon Fire TVs and you're wondering what exactly Alexa is the voice service that powers those devices. And the way that I like to think about it is the realm of ambient computing, right? So this is Star Trek. This is any Internet of Things device, as long as it can go ahead and respond to HTTPS requests over the internet and send JSON back and forth, you can then have normal human beings communicate with technology using spoken language. So, think of it like C3PO, human computer relations, right? Anything you're working on, it could be with a Raspberry Pi, an Arduino, a mobile device, a drone, an appliance. You may have seen some of the CES announcements from Ford, so a car. Anywhere that you want people to be able to talk and be able to understand what they're saying and send that across to a service that you run in the cloud that then drives those devices, you can use Alexa for. And what we've done as far as a platform or an SDK is we've created what we're calling the Alexa Skills Kit, or Ask. And that's where you come in as a developer, is you're going to create a skill which is going to make Alexa smarter. It's going to enable her to do more things. If you have an Alexa device, if you have an Echo, you've probably seen there's over 150 of these skills now. Everything from Star Wars trivia to Jeopardy to doing a 7-minute workout is available there now. So this is creating new experiences that you can make available for customers at large that have these devices, or for yourself. Maybe you want to do something around home automation or driving some of the technology that you own. You can do all of that as well. So it's really a voice-first experience, right? Voice-first apps, and we're calling those things skills. So this is what the platform looks like. Over here, you can see an Amazon Echo. I have a Fire TV that happens to be a Raspberry Pi 2. It could literally be anything, as long as you can get someone's voice, so you can create an audio stream, so you're going to get microphone, speakers, so that they can actually understand what's being said back and forth, and then you can communicate and send JSON back and forth over the internet. And then what you're seeing here is you're seeing the AWS, or the Alexa Voice Service. We've built that on top of our cloud service, so it sits in Amazon Web Services, and it does a couple of things for free for you that you don't need to worry about. So the first is ASR, or automatic speech recognition. Alexa can understand the difference between background noise, just ambient sound, and an actual human being talking. And so when you use an Echo device and you say Alexa, and you begin talking, she's actually understanding what those words are and gives the capability to send that to you so you can understand what was requested by an actual person. It also does NLU, or natural language understanding. So it's not enough to know that something is being said. It's also the intent behind what's being said. And this is where you start to see language models and other things come into place. So Alexa does have a language model that we use. Your own skill, we're going to create a language model. And then an actual human being that's using these devices will have a language model created as well. And then TTS, the ability for you to have text that you want to say and convert that to speech, or text to speech. So in order for you to make Alexa say something, you simply type in what you want to say in the form of a JSON request. That'll be generated in the cloud, and then on the device, a person will actually hear Alexa talking. And then your skills, you can create your skills in anything. Right here, I have both AWS Lambda and Beanstalk, but you could create this in Azure or any other cloud service. You could use any language that you'd like. In our starter kits, we've got JavaScript for Node, we have Java, and we have Python. But if you go up on Git, you'll see C#, you'll see Ruby, all sorts of languages. So whatever framework, as long as you can speak JSON, you can use Alexa. And then Alexa is learning over time. So this is an evolving platform. If you've been an Echo user for a while, you've probably seen this already. Same device, but Alexa herself is getting new capabilities and getting smarter all the time. You also have the ability to display information. So what you're seeing down here at the bottom is some of the new Amazon Kindle tablets. I could say send to tablet, and she can display some information, or another device, so a Fire TV or anything like that. We also have the ability to connect to smart home devices. So this is done through something called Coho, Connected Home. And you can think of this like writing device drivers. And we have a lot of partners already. Smart things you can see here, Insteon, Wemo. I happen to have a bunch of lights that I control in my house. All of that is done using your voice. And so this gives Alexa the ability to integrate with things going on in the home. Just jump over, see if you have that. All right, good. Now, if this is voice enabled, how do you set things up, right? How do you log into your Amazon account and customize your location and all of that? So we do provide an Alexa app. The URL for that is alexa.amazon.com. And rather than showing you a boring slide, why don't I jump on over to, great question, can I have one in France? You actually could have one in France. It would just be US English for now. The language model is only US English. But I was just over in Europe. I did a roadshow in London and Berlin, and I was surprised how many people did have Echoes. All right, so let's go ahead to alexa.amazon.com. It's going to log me into my account. Here in this section here, you can see some of the recent things I've asked. So if I ask Alexa something, let me turn on my Echo here. Alexa, what time is it?
The time is 4:08.
Alexa, what is the weather in Paris, France?
Right now in Paris, France, it's 28 degrees with clear skies. Tonight's forecast has clouds with snow.
Chilly. So
and
you can see this is the card that's being displayed, and you can see all of that information. And then the skills that you would write are over here on the left. So if I click on skills, and maybe I want information for, let's say, a trivia game, so I could do a search here. And then because this is a cloud-enabled device, as a customer, I don't need to install anything locally. I can simply enable them. So there's this little toggle switch on the side. If I hit enable, then I can go ahead and ask Alexa. And here you can see some examples, like for Star Wars, I would say, Alexa, start the Star Wars quiz. All right, so in a nutshell, that's how you integrate. That's how you set things up, and that is our skills store. So you're going to want to go to developer.amazon.com ask. If you want to follow along when I'm doing this too, feel free to do it. It is a free account. If you are already a developer and you've submitted something to the Amazon App Store, or you've done login with Amazon or any of that stuff, you can use the same account. What's important, though, is when you're registering with the email address for this account, make sure it is the same email address that you've used to register your Echo or whatever Alexa device you have. By doing that, we will simply enable your skills for testing. So I have an Amazon account. I just happen to use that one, that same email for my developer email, and then I can automatically begin testing my skills on devices. Now, when you go ahead and create this, there's two things that you need to be concerned with. The first is, like any other app store, you're going to set up a bunch of metadata. Who you are, what your skill is about, information about your skill, description, how to use it, and then you're going to tell us how to reach your skill. And so for today, that will be an endpoint URL that we're going to reach over HTTPS. So anything that's publicly accessible that has a DNS entry. And then the second is you're going to create a hosted cloud service. Now, what I'm going to show you today is I'm going to use AWS Lambda, which happens to be already a trusted source for Alexa. So you don't have to worry about any SSL certs or any of that if you're using Lambda. So it makes it pretty quick to jump through. Otherwise, if you're going to create a hosted service somewhere else, maybe you want to use it in your own data center, just make sure that you have a publicly addressable DNS entry and an SSL cert, and then you'll go ahead and configure that in the portal. So let's take a look at what that would look like over the internet. I have an Alexa device. This is an Echo here on the left. We have the Amazon Alexa service I talked about that's sitting up there in the cloud. And then we have the developer portal. This is developer.amazon.com, where you're going to go ahead and you're going to register information about your service. And then over here in the different color blue, you can see this is the cloud service that you're going to write. So this is the one thing that you do need to code. And then you're going to tell us about that. So you're going to tell us about your skill. You're going to give us application metadata, how to reach it. And then you're going to create two things. I'm going to show you how to do this. The first is a contract for communication. What kind of questions can be asked of your service? That's what we call an intent schema. And then in order for that intent schema to be understood by Alexa, we create a language model. And we do that by you providing a bunch of sample utterances. You're going to start using words in a sentence in order to understand how those intents should be set up. I'm going to show you what all this looks like. It looks very much like, almost like JavaScript pseudocode. And it's where most of the magic happens. All right. Over here on the left, what happens is when you say Alexa, or if a customer has Amazon in the case of Echo, when they say that keyword, we immediately begin streaming audio. So the audio is not recorded and then sent up. This is happening in real time. It's being parsed in the cloud. And then the Alexa service will break up that audio stream into user intents and arguments. So what's great is as a developer here, you aren't parsing out someone's voice. You're actually getting called through JSON with an intent that you define. So think of this as like functions and methods with parameters. And then the parameters that that intent sent. And then you decide what you want to do with that. So if you've got an existing website, you've got an existing mobile app, you probably have data, you probably already have an existing customer relationship. You can see by simply creating a cloud endpoint here, you can expose all of that data. We offer account linking. And then you're just going to service requests that come over the internet and pass that back and forth through HTTPS. But on the end device, it's going to come across as Alexa. So you decide, based on what was sent to you, what you want to do with that data. And then you go ahead and you generate a response. Now, you can send a response in both text or something called SSML, Speech Syntax Markup Language. I'll go through that in a little bit. But I want you to understand you can actually change how Alexa says things. You don't have to just send plain text. And then if you want one of those GUI cards that you saw me show in the Alexa portal, you have the ability to display information like that. The Alexa voice will be rendered in the cloud. It'll be sent and played on the device. And then in that Alexa app, people can see the GUI card. So that's kind of the back and forth where everything sits. In a nutshell, you're defining contracts. You're giving us an idea of how that conversation would sound with sample utterances. And then you're creating a cloud endpoint that we can reach over the internet. Once you do that, you have a working skill immediately on your device. All right, so I'm going to do a little demo here and show you what that would look like to configure. Let's jump over, see if we have any questions too. Okay, I'm going to go to the portal. So developer, Amazon.com ask. Everybody see this? Up in the top right here, I have sign in. Click on that. I'm going to log into my account. And then I'm going to click on Apps and Services over here at the top tab. There's an Alexa tab over here, so we're going to say New. And then you've got two choices. We're going to create a skill. You also have the ability to create hardware where you do everything. Like you digitize the voice, you send it up. This is what you'd be doing with the Raspberry Pi. If you want to do that, you can click over here. We're just going to create a skill that will run on any Alexa device for this session. So I'm going to click Get Started. And then up here at the top, I'm going to say Add a New Skill. And I can come in here and I can give a name of the skill. So this would be my, let's see, BeMyApp colors demo. Now, invocation name is important. This will be how people launch your skill. So if I was going to call this, let's say, the colors demo, I would say Alexa launch colors demo or Alexa start colors demo. So you want to pick something that's pretty basic English. It's always understood so that you don't have any instances where Alexa might not understand what's being launched. And then we're just going to do a 1.0 version. Now, I need to give an endpoint URL. So this is where I would use HTTPS or Lambda. And we're going to go ahead and create this in Lambda. So I can't proceed yet through the wizard until we do that. So I want to explain exactly what we're going to create over in Lambda. So let's jump over to the slides. All right. So in order to create this service, the first thing you need to do is you need to think about the service interface, what that will look like. So this is really your business case here. I do a design session. You'll see some of the recordings of that online if you go to the developer portal. And one of the biggest questions I get asked by a lot of people, it reminds me of the early web days, is people come to me and say, hey, I know I want to do something with this, but I have no idea what I should do, right? And for that, you don't want to replace a mobile app. If you've got a great mobile app or a great website today, you've got an existing customer experience, voice works very differently. Whereas as a mobile app, it gives you the ability to browse and you have a menu system. Maybe you don't necessarily know immediately what you want, and you can have kind of that discovery process going on. Voice is very direct. I know exactly what I want. So for example, in my house, if I wanted to set my alarm, I could say, Alexa, set alarm, and she would say, you've got 40 seconds to leave your house setting alarm. Versus opening a mobile app, going into settings, alarms, and start, right? Very, very different experience. So you want to think about what that business case is, and then you want to think about what would be the functions to call that, right? So in the case I just said, it may be set alarm, it may be cancel alarm, and then build that interface out. You need to be on the internet, which I mentioned SSL and port 443. So if you don't have access, maybe you're behind a firewall at work or something like that, keep in mind, none of the processing is happening locally on these devices. It's all happening in the Amazon cloud. So you need to be able to access that, and you need to do it securely. So if you don't have an SSL cert, make sure you get one of those. This is what that contract looks like. So you can see over on the left, it's just straight JSON. The function, so the intent that I'm going to do here is get computer. This is a blog post I did on a skill for looking up old Commodore computers. So if you remember Commodore from the 80s and 90s, with Commodore 64 and Amiga, that's what this is doing. So I'll have an intent for get computer. I could ask it, what are the models in 1992? And it'll go ahead and return them. And so what you're seeing here is the slots are the arguments, right? So the parameters, arguments, whatever you would use in your programming language of choice. And it's going to have a name and a type. We provide a bunch of built-in types at Amazon. So we have internal types for open strings, which are literals, numbers, dates. So you can see here I have a date. And what's great about this is we'll automatically cast that to the native type that you'd be expecting in a programming language. So if I say, Alexa, tell me the computer models from 15 years ago, she'll know to go and say 2001. And then models, as you can see here, is what's called a custom slot. So you can actually create your own data types too. Make sense? So we're creating a schema here. The types of functions that you want to get called in your cloud skill by Alexa. And then what we need to do is we need to figure out how that would be called. So these are our sample utterances. And this is where the human being, the actual language comes into play. So you're going to see terms a lot here like, what is, tell me, give me, find me. And then you're going to use that in a sense. So you can see here at the bottom, I have get models by year. What were the Amiga models in 1997? So get models by year would be an intent. What were the Amiga models is something I said. And so I could have said something completely different. I could have said, tell me the models. Or I could have said, what Amiga models, right? So people are going to ask things in different ways, and you need to use it in a couple of different sample utterances so that Alexa will understand that. And then date is the actual slot. So that's going to be in the parens there. It's going to start out with a capital letter, and then the actual value comes first before the pipe. Now, if I'm going to use a custom type, a custom slot, you can see here with get model, what year was the model released? And I only have to do one sample utterance for that because I'm going to define all of the answers for model. And I'm going to walk you through that in a demo. We're actually going to create some custom types. All right, so we've set up the contract of how we should communicate, and then we've used the data inside of normal language so that Alexa can understand how those things will be requested by an actual human being. So what we are going to send you from the Alexa service, so this is what we're going to post to you over JSON. We're going to send you 3 types of requests. And the first is a launch request, then an intent request, and finally a session-ended request. A launch request will happen, usually this happens the first time someone runs your skill, and they didn't provide any additional information. So if I said, Alexa, open, and then the name of my skill, that would be a launch request. But an intent request would be like you saw on the previous page. Alexa, tell me the models for 1997. And then session ended would be if somebody says, Alexa, stop, or Alexa, cancel. Then just like if you've done mobile app development where your actual app can be canceled at any time, so you need to keep track of session and you get an event, you get notified when you're actually being closed. That's what session ended request is too. That is a basic termination. You should save all of your data. Now let's take a look at what one of those JSON requests would look like. So if you threw Netmon or some other kind of program onto the network traffic to see what this would look like, here's an actual request coming from Alexa. So you can see we're going to do a post. You can see the cert. And then we're always going to have session ID and application ID as well as user ID. So you need to, as a developer, check and make sure, hey, is this the same session ID I already had? Okay, I know this is the same person having the same conversation. I don't need to start any new session data or anything like that. And then I get this request object you can see here. And then that request object will have the intent in it. So for example, if we're going to do an intent request, you can see here I get type, intent request. I always get a request ID and timestamp. And then I get those same intents and slots that we set up in that contract ahead of time inside that schema. But now I'm actually seeing the data values. So there'll be a string for name and then a name value pair for slots. And so all I need to do on the server side is parse this out, look for the actual name of what's coming across, and then decide how I want to respond. Now we've also added some additional functionality so that you don't have to write all of these intents. We've created some built-in intents. And this gives you the ability to use the same core Alexa functionality that customers are used to. So for example, I may be using an Echo device today, I'm using your skill, and I say, how do I do this? Or how do I, right? That's a help intent. So you don't need to do anything other than defining that intent, like you can see over on the left, and say help intent. And then we'll pass that as an actual intent in that request to you. And then you can decide how to do help and how to return. So this is a way so that your skill will work just like the core functionality of Alexa that customers are used to. And then custom slots that I mentioned, this is how easy it is to create one. So I would say models, and then I would just enter my data. This is going to greatly reduce the number of sample utterances, and you'll see this in a second when I go through and we create one live. And then lastly, if we want to change the way that Alexa responds, so we have the ability to use speech synthesis markup language. So if you look at the bottom here, where I say, here's a word spelled out, I simply do a say as tag and say type spell out. And she would say H-E-L-L-O versus hello. So you can have her say numbers differently. You can use a break, and then you just give it a delay with the time that you want in seconds. If you use a question mark, by the way, Alexa will automatically change her voice a little to sound like a question, as well as a period or a comma. She'll pause for a second. And then newly announced is audio support. So you could play an MP3. You just host it somewhere. I happen to do my own in S3 buckets, as long as you can get to it over the internet. You can do up to 90 seconds of audio on a response from Alexa. So we've got the schemas set up. We've used this in a sentence to create language models. We know now that we can return text or SSML. Maybe you don't have a device. You don't have an Echo like I have here. So there's two things you can do to test, right? And this is what account linking looks like that I mentioned. Just using OAuth, you can link to an existing account, and then we always send you a token. So this is what the testing would look like. And what you can see here, and I'm going to show you this live in a second, is I get the ability to type in utterances. So you can see, when is Dave speaking? This happens to be for a skill I wrote for another conference. And then you'll see over here on the left is the actual request. So this is what's being sent to your service. So remember, a request has a type. So you can see here it's an intent request and then a request ID. And then this is the response I'm sending back. So you can see I have an output speech object of type and text. So what this allows you to do is completely test what's going back and forth. Just that JSON that you would see. Again, this is just JSON. And then the ability to tweak it. And then we've also added a voice simulator. So what you're seeing here at the bottom is this button I can click and say, listen. And you'll hear Alexa say that actual response. And then up here at the top, I could try out SSML tags. So if you want to see, here I have I'm making her pause for 2 seconds. So if I said, hi, Dave, break time equals 2 seconds, good morning to you, it would go ahead and pause for 2 seconds. So this is a complete tool system for being able to test what that stuff would look like. And now we need to create that in Lambda. So let me jump over here and see if we got any additional questions. All right, cool. Let's open up AWS. All right, so if you are familiar with AWS, you've seen this dashboard before. If you aren't familiar with Lambda, as a developer, Lambda is super cool, right? Lambda is a way to just run code without having to worry about infrastructure. So I don't have to worry about an EC2 instance, an operating system, right? I don't need to worry about storage or load balancer. Hey, I just want to run a piece of code. And you could run Java code, JavaScript code, Python, and then you're only charged for the amount of CPU time that that code was actually processing. Right, so let's go ahead and create one right now. We're going to create this Lambda function, and then you're going to see blueprints in the wizard here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say Alexa, and you'll see a couple different ones, right? You can see Node.js, we have Alexa, we have some IoT connected home stuff I can mess around with, and then we also have something in Python. So I'm going to go ahead and pick the one for Node. And then it's going to set up an event source type. This is what allows us to go ahead and not need an SSL. This is going to set up that ARN. And if you've used Lambda before, you'll see a couple of different things in here. So AWS IoT is supported, S3, SNS, Connected Home, all of that. So we're just going to say Alexa Skills Kit, hit next. And we'll have a function. So we're going to call this one colors demo BeMyApp. And I could pick the different runtimes. I'm just going to keep it at Node. And then you'll see we've created some basic JavaScript here. So you've got a global function. We're doing some logging. So if you do a console.log in JavaScript, it's going to go ahead and log that stuff out. And the rest of this is exactly what you would expect in JavaScript. So I have an event object. If I want to know what the request is for that event object, I just look at type. So these are the three types of requests I mentioned. We're doing a launch, intent, and session. We're doing a callback, right? Because we need to do a callback in Node if we want the ability to get anything. And everything's in a try-catch. And then the rest of this is just logging for session on start, on launch, and things like that. What this function is going to do, this is like a neat hello world for Alexa learning your favorite color. So I can say, Alexa, what's my favorite color? And if she doesn't know, she'll ask me. I tell her my favorite color, and then I can ask her what my favorite color is, and she'll say it back. So it's a basic example of how to both process requests, generate responses, and then save variables into local session state. So that's what's going on here. We're going to give a welcome message here. You can see on launch. So that's what this looks like. This is the speech output object that we're building. She'll say, welcome to the Alexa Skills Kit sample. If I want to do a GUI card, here you can see I can give it a title. And then if she didn't understand something, that's a reprompt. We can decide if we want to reprompt or not. So she can say, again, please tell me your favorite color, because maybe she didn't hear. Then we have the on intent. So if somebody actually passed in parameters, you can see over here. Again, simple JavaScript. We're looking into the actual request object, the intent parameter of that request object, and that intent had an intent request. And so we're going to get the name of that. If that name was my color is, or what's my color, or basic help, we do these different things. We're either going to save to session, or we're going to read from session. And then help, remember I mentioned help intent? We're just going to play back that welcome message at any time on how to use this if somebody asks for help. Lastly, saving. You can see down here. So we're going to look for this favorite colors. If I got a color across and it exists in the session state, then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull it. Otherwise, this is what I'm talking about down here. Right? This is how easy it is to set the session state. Otherwise, we're going to go ahead and create that. Okay? And this is how we're building a string. So I know your favorite color is favorite color. So just basic JavaScript, adding strings, saving things in session state. If it exists in session state, you can see right here, we're just calling session attributes and the name of the variable we want. And then we're just saying what your favorite color is. And then the JSON object that we send back, you can see right here, build speechlet response. We're returning output of type plain text. If we wanted SSML, we would say type SSML, and then here we would put SSML. And that's it. That's going to send back JSON. Obviously, if you're going to use Java or Python, this code's going to look a little bit different. But all we're doing is we're building a bunch of string for JSON that we're going to go ahead and do back over an HTTP post. So let's scroll down here. We need a basic role. So if you're not familiar with AWS, we have something called IAM permissions. And what this is going to do is just make sure that this function can be called. So I'm going to go ahead and give it execute permission. I'm already using a role, so we'll just take that. And then memory. If you're doing Lambda, you can keep it at 128. If you're going to do Java, I recommend doing 512, just so the runtime stays resident. Let's hit next. Everything looks good, and we'll say create function. All right. So now I've created this Lambda function using that JavaScript sample code. This is now live. This is the ARN that we're going to need up here. Okay, so I'm going to copy this. Let's see if we have any more questions. All right, cool. Everybody's good. We're going to go over to the portal, and let's go ahead and create. Here's the one I was creating. We're going to put this ARN in. We're going to say save. All right, so everybody see the green checkbox now? So it was able to verify that this is a valid endpoint. So that is working up in the cloud now, and it can reach it. Everything's good. So if you get that green checkbox, you know you're good. We're going to go to the next one, And this is where we need to define that contract. So that intent schema that I talked about, that is going to explain to Alexa all the possibilities for a conversation, and then how to use that in normal language here at the bottom. So let's go over to Lambda, and there's a couple things that we want to do. The first is we want to make sure that our event source is set up, which you can see it is. The second is we want to make sure that it's actually running code. So we do have built-in unit tests here. You see configure test event. I'm going to click that, and then from this drop-down template, we're going to do one with an actual, you know what, I'll do just starting a session. So this would be a launch request. Everybody see a type of launch request here? So this would mean I just ran my skill. So in terms of the thing we just created, it would be Alexa start colors demo. If I did that, this is exactly what the JSON would look like. So let's make sure our Lambda function can process that. So save and test. We'll scroll down. And then here, you can see the JSON we're getting back. So everything worked. I'm sending back this JSON with an output speech object of type plain text that says, welcome to the Alexa Skills Kit sample. Please tell me your favorite color by saying, my favorite color is red. And this is what the GUI card would look like. All right, so hopefully that's starting to come together a little bit of what we're actually sending across the wire. Now let's do an intent. Come up here, and this would be when we actually say a color. So here I'm saying my favorite color is blue. I'll change that just so you can see. Nothing up my sleeve. Save and test this. Scroll down, and you can see what's coming back is, I now know your favorite color is black. So Lambda is all working. You'll notice that this is integrated with CloudWatch. So if you already have an Amazon AWS account, you can go ahead and you can look at this in your CloudWatch group. So you can see here, these are the requests that came across live. I can begin to drill down in here. I can look at OK. I can set up rules. All of that is fully integrated with CloudWatch. Okay. Now let's go back. To the code. And we're going to jump over, where's my portal? Lots of tabs here. Okay. So in order to get the intent schema and the sample utterances, you need to go onto the dev portal, and there is a page called Developing an Alexa Skill as a Lambda Function. I created a bit.ly for you guys to make this easier. So if I say Alexa Lambda, so if you just go to bit.ly Alexa Lambda, this will take you right to this page. And this will explain everything that I've gone through so far. And what we're going to do here is we're going to pull, just copy paste that schema. And then we'll come back over here. Paste that in. All right, so this is very similar to the slides, to the one that I showed you that was a commoner one, is I have one intent called my color is intent. So this would be when you're actually telling Alexa what your color is. And that can take one parameter of color. And that's going to be of type list of colors. So that is a custom slot. We haven't created it yet. We're going to do it in 1 second. Then I can ask her what my favorite color is. So that's what's my color intent. And finally, I want to support general help. So that's what the Amazon help intent is. That's it. That's our conversation in a nutshell. We've defined that contract. Let's go ahead and create list of colors. And we'll do some colors here. Red, orange, blue, green, pink, purple, black, brown. All right, so it could be any colors that you can think of. Hit OK. And then you'll see a pipe delimited array of strings here. Okay. So what will happen is when my color is intent is called and it uses custom list of colors, Alexa knows it should be one of these. So she's going to match very well, almost 100% every time somebody says a green or purple, brown, or blue. It's just what you want. You want her to understand what's being said as best as possible. So if we go back here, now is the use it in a sentence part. This is the pseudocode we're building here of using those intents that we created in actual language. So I'm going to put this down here. All right, now notice at the bottom here, because I used that custom color, so I have color. Remember up here, color is of type list of colors, which can be any of these. I only needed one sentence, and it was my favorite color is. And she'll understand that very well. Because everything else, we don't know how someone would ask, we have to have a whole bunch of samples here. So you can see, what's my favorite color? What is my favorite color? Get my color, give me, yes, yup, right? You know, all the different samples that you can see here. This is the real, the actual English. And a lot of this is the art. This is the science piece. So as you're creating your own skill, you're going to want to have conversations with what you've created. And you're going to want to have different people test that too. I've found, just as a normal human being, I never ask for things the same way. I will reverse words. I'll use different adjectives, different verbs. And so you want to test that with as many people and as many variations as possible so you can really build out your sample utterances. Let's go ahead and hit next. And what you're going to see in a couple seconds here is this green checkbox will highlight. And once we've got a go on that, Alexa is now fully live and in the cloud. And because I've added my own email address for this dev account, with what's on my Echo, I can immediately begin testing this. So if you have an Echo, you can simply say, Alexa, ask colors demo. And it will do that. So we're going to wait for that to go. Okay, everything's live. We're ready to get tested. The first thing we're going to do is we want to test it here, right? So my favorite color is black. Ask colors demo. Now this is live, so this is the request ID, the timestamp. You can see all this is happening live right now. Happens to be my user ID hash, app ID, real session ID, and it called that my color is intent because it knew my favorite color when someone says that from the sample language. And it was able to pick out that I said black, just using my voice. And then if I look down here, this is what came back from our Lambda. This is what you saw in the same text. I now know your favorite color is black. Now I can listen here.
I now know your favorite color is black. You can ask me your favorite color by saying, what's my favorite color?
Right? But that is actually what that response would be. And what I'll do here in a second is I'll show you, I can actually test this on my device. So I'll switch to the webcam. But you notice we also have this little tab here. So I could go ahead and, let me see, we're going to copy what we did before. So I want to tweak this one. Right, so this was the response that was just generated with black, but maybe I want to say blue. So if you're like me and you just want to work a little bit in the JSON versus always having to talk until you get the code all worked out, you can see here, I now know your favorite color is blue. So you can also stay on the JSON side of things.
I now know your favorite color is blue. You can ask me your favorite color by saying, what's my favorite color?
Okay, cool. So here's my Echo, and I have her on mute right now. So I'm going to unmute this. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same thing we're just doing in the portal to show that all of this is live. So let's go ahead and say, Alexa, start colors demo.
Welcome to the Alexa Skills Kit sample. Please tell me your favorite color by saying, my favorite color is red.
My favorite color is black.
I now know your favorite color is black. You can ask me your favorite color by saying, what's my favorite color?
What's my favorite color?
Your favorite color is black. Goodbye.
Okay, so you saw that's now running and live, right? Yeah, she's very direct in the sample. You wouldn't want to do that in real skill with, here's what you know, goodbye. Right? Let's share the entire screen. We'll go back. And if we go into Alexa, and you can actually see here, I do get a full list of that speech. So the BeMyApp colors demo I just did. Everybody see here? This was, remember, you could create a GUI card and you could put whatever you'd like. So you can see here, the actual text is going back and it's displaying information. That's how easy it is to get those things started. Now, if we go back in the portal, you notice there's two other things here. So, this skill's running on my own Echo, and I like it, and maybe I want to start to share it with others. I want to make it available to everyone. or maybe I'm a brand, I have my own brand, I have my own mobile app, and I want to enable it on Echo devices for everybody, or any Alexa-enabled device. You need to provide a couple more things. So this is what you would expect in an app store kind of scenario, right? So you want to give some example phrases, a description, you can pick category, and then in images, you'll see all the sizes here. This is when we go to skills. This is what you're seeing here. So these are the sample phrases, how to use it. This would be you as the publisher, the icon, and then information. Okay. So you just do that, and then you click on publishing information. So if you need privacy policy, if you're going to click and have any kind of account linking, and then any testing instructions, and you submit it for certification. Currently, that's usually 5 days or less. If you do run into any problems, you can click Contact Us here, and there's an Alexa drop-down, and just ask, hey, what's the status of what's going on? We test that just to make sure that it's doing what it says it's doing, and then we periodically test skills that are already live just to make sure nothing's changed. Okay? And that ensures an experience across all the Alexa skills. All right. So that was creating a voice experience using Amazon Alexa with AWS Lambda. The two URLs to remember again are developer, amazon.com ask, and developer, amazon.com blog. I do post there. We're in a cadence, usually every 2-3 weeks, we're releasing new features based on all of your feedback. And I'll explain what's going on there on the blog when I do the post. You can reach me at the Dave Dev on Twitter, or feel free to email me at my email address, isbitski.amazon.com. Since we've got 2 minutes left, why don't we have Alexa tell us a joke? Alexa, tell me a joke.
Why did Santa have to cancel karaoke night? Too many Elvish impersonators.
She is super corny, so if you like corny jokes, it's a lot of fun. I'll do one more, and then I'll end. Alexa, tell me a joke.
What do you call a deer with no eyes? No idea.
Yeah, there you go. Why did the chicken cross the road? Yeah, she does have a chicken joke in there. Here, I'll do another one, because we're in my office. Alexa, set office brightness to 100%.
Okay.
You see that on the webcam now, how bright it is in here? If I said something like, Alexa, turn off office.
Okay.
Very dark, right? So Alexa, turn on office.
Okay.
I've got little kids at home, so that's always fun, messing with the lights in their rooms if they're not getting up for school. But yeah, there's tons of stuff you can do with this. Thank you for joining me on a Saturday, and feel free to send me any questions you have. I look forward to seeing your skill if you do choose to write a skill for Alexa. Thanks, everyone.